cognac and the feeling of the sun on his face in Barbados. He missed it. He missed the respect. He missed the way people looked at him when he had money in his pocket. Now, they just looked at him with pity, or worse, they didn't look at him at all. If only Monk could see us now, he whispered to the night. He remembered the promise he'd made to her on her deathbed. He'd promised to look after Rodney. He'd promised to make something of themselves. And for a while, he'd done it. He'd reached the summit, but the fall had been long and hard. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the 1-pound coin from the Gold Rush show. He flipped it in the air and caught it. Heads, we're back in the money, he muttered. Tails, well, tails, we just try harder. He looked at the coin. It was tails. Dell smiled. That's my boy, always playing hard to get. He turned back into the flat, his mind already spinning with new ideas, new angles, new ways to turn the world in his favor. Because Derek Trotter wasn't just a salesman, he was a survivor. And as long as there was a deal to be made, a story to be told, and a brother to argue with, he was exactly where he belonged. Good night, Peckham, he said, closing the balcony door. Sleep well, because tomorrow the Phoenix is going to do some shopping. Chapter 21, Meeting Nervous Nick. The rendezvous point was a derelict garage in a part of Bermondsey that even the rats avoided. The air smelled of damp cardboard and secrets. Dell adjusted his camel hair coat, trying to look like a high-level procurement officer rather than a man who had just spent his last tenner on petrol. Rodney followed, his eyes darting toward every shadow. Dell, I really don't like this. Nervous Nick is called nervous for a reason, usually because he's about to be arrested. He's just high-strung, Rodney, Dell whispered. Genius often is. A man emerged from behind a stack of rusted oil drums. He was twitching so violently that his glasses were barely staying on his nose. This was Nervous Nick. You got the money? Nick stammered, his eyes scanning the empty street. I've got the backing of a major international syndicate, Nick, Dell said, patting his empty chest pocket. But first, we see the gear, the lasers. Nick led them to a crate covered in a greasy tarpaulin. With a flourish that sent his head flying, he pulled it back. Inside were rows of sleek, silver cylinders with blinking red lights. There they are, Nick whispered. Laser guided, high precision, straight from a high-tech facility in the north. Rodney leaned in, looking at a cylinder. Dell, these look like industrial barcode scanners. Shh, Dell hissed. They're diagnostic tools. Rodney, diagnostic. Nick, how many have you got? 50 units. Take 'em now for $5,000, and I'll throw in the cables. Dell looked at Rodney, his eyes wide with greed. Rodney, at $5,000, that's only £100 a unit. We sell 'em to a private clinic for $500 each, and we've wiped out half the debt in a weekend. Dell, We haven't got $5,000, Rodney cried. We have, if we use our contingency fund, Dell said, avoiding Rodney's gaze. You mean the money Raquel was saving for Damien's school uniform? It's an investment, Rodney. Damien will have a uniform made of gold by the time we're finished. Chapter 22. The Master's Pitch. Boyke sat in his garden, a glass of expensive-looking champagne in one hand and a cigar the size of a small tree in the other. He looked at Dell and Rodney as if they were a particularly unconvincing set of garden gnomes. So, Derek, Boyke drawled, his voice a nasal symphony of condescension. I hear you've been appearing on television. A very moving performance. I especially like the bit where you lost 50,000 pounds because you didn't know your classics. It was a technicality. Boyke, Dell shot back, trying to keep his cool. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about show business. I'm here to offer you a piece of the future. He opened a small briefcase to reveal one of the silver cylinders. Boyke leaned forward, squinting. And what exactly is this? A very expensive pencil case. It's a laser-guided pathological scanner. Boyke, Dell said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Straight from the R&D labs in Switzerland. It can detect anything from a common cold to a midlife crisis. Boyke picked it up, weighing it. It looks remarkably like a checkout scanner from a supermarket in Croydon. That's the clever part. Dell beamed. It's built into a familiar casing to prevent patient anxiety. High tech. Low stress. These are going to be in every private hospital in London by Christmas. I've got the exclusive distribution rights. Rodney cleared his throat. Well, technically, Trotter's Independent Traders is the sole procurement agent. Boyke let out a short, sharp laugh that sounded like a seagull choking on a chip. Healthcare. Derek, you can't even diagnose a leak in your own radiator. I'm talking about the margins, Boyke, Dell urged. 30% return in 30 days. Guaranteed. Boyke put the cylinder back. I'll tell you what, Dell, I'll take 10 of them, at £100 each. Not a penny more. Dell's face fell. 100? Boyke, I paid more than that myself. Then you're even more of a dipstick than I thought, Boyke said, standing up. Now, if you'll excuse me, Marlene is calling. We're having a very expensive lunch. Chapter 23, The Laser Reveal. Back at the flat, the living room was filled with silver cylinders. Rodney was sitting on the floor, surrounded by instruction manuals that were written entirely in what appeared to be simplified Chinese. Dell, Rodney said, his voice trembling. I've found the translation for the model number. Dell, who was busy trying to buff the Made in China stickers off the cylinders, didn't look up. And, does it say precision medical tool? No, Rodney said, standing up. It says industrial poultry sexer. Dell froze. A what? A poultry sexer. Dell, It's a laser tool used in high-speed chicken factories.